When you resigned from One Extra,
Yeah.
I think you were quoted saying that you had to think very long and hard about the decision. And kind of the whole reason for you resigning was because you wanted to kind of, as this whole session is about, keep your truth. And you've worked your way up to this great achievement. And then you're kind of, must have been such a hard decision for you to kind of step down from that. So kind of what was going through your mind, and kind of how can you make a big decision like that?
It was a very, very difficult decision, but what I'll say is this: when it comes to doing anything, right? I tell people all the time when they go into the creative industry, sometimes they lose that 9-to-5 regiment and mindset. When I started off at Landis, I started off with not much leverage. I started off with not much authority, but that changed over time. This is how you have to look at everything, right? So you will not have all the leverage in the world at first, right? You will not have all the power in the world at first. I built up enough leverage to be able to leave. It was a tough decision to make, but that doesn't mean that it was as tough as it would have been to make a year or two prior. And so what I always tell people is do what you can until you can do what you want to. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like I'm not going to recommend for everybody to quit their job no matter what happens, if any slight thing bothers you. You understand what I'm saying? But what I will say is this, is that always work your way up in life to be able to make sure that when that time comes, that somebody does, hit your bottom line, you're going to be able to stand on your ground, and you know what I mean, and live authentically according to your truth. That's what I would say.
So when you were
it was a very tough decision.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you were going through the process, were you asking like friends and kind of other people for advice during the time, or was it kind of something that you were dealing with solo?
Was I asking friends for advice? Not. I spoke to my manager and I spoke to Charlie. Yeah. Those are pretty much the only two people that I spoke to. I had a word with them about it, and it was good conversation. And I feel like we reached good places based on that. But that was pretty much it, really. But once I feel sure about something, once I feel sure in myself about something, then it's pretty much going to happen that way. That's how I tend
sometimes
to.
Sometimes it's best to kind of act on your heart instead of kind of all the things going on in the brain. Sometimes. Cool. So kind of after you resigned from One Extra, kind of what was like, did you kind of have things already planned up for kind of things you'd be doing afterwards, or kind of was it kind of a resignation and then kind of a little bit of a break whilst you kind of figured out what your next steps were?
Well, I mean, to be completely frank, the way my career works is that the main thing that I make money from is brand deals. So those were always going on. That was always happening. So I was all right in that sense. I wasn't worried so much about money. I was always getting work and stuff like that. Like BBC wasn't the thing that paid me the most, in a sense, is what I'm saying. So things are always all right in that sense. So I just continued to do that. And I knew that some form of long-term thing would come along, but I never had anything in place, what I would say.
Yeah. And after kind of that big decision you did make, how were you during that time in terms of kind of like your headspace? Were you kind of like positive? Were you kind of like feeling a bit down about it? Because like when anyone makes a big decision like that, like it does probably have an effect on you as a person. So I kind of want to get kind of your tips and tricks and advice on kind of if like a student, for say, was to kind of speak their truth or kind of did put themselves in a peculiar position, what ways can you kind of like mentally prepare yourself after it happens, basically?
Well, I mean, for me, I would say I was all right, but that's because I've just decided a couple of things when it comes to life. I've decided that my peace is more important than anything else. You understand what I'm saying? And I find oftentimes what we do.